There is a question that I hear over and over again, especially from older people like you, my uncles, aunts, and friends sitting in front of the screen. How to forget the painful old things in the past. How to forgive others and yourself. Every time I hear that question, I sit silently for a while. Not because I don't know the answer, but because I understand that behind the question are heavy memories, sleepless nights, and years of youth that have passed and cannot be retrieved. Some people have lost a loved one in an accident after which they had a heated argument. Some people have suffered betrayal from someone they trusted all their lives. Some people have said harsh words to their parents when they were young, and now their hair is gray, their hearts are restless. Some people blame themselves for not doing more, being better, being kinder to someone, and now they can only sit there regretting. Right? Old age doesn't make those pains go away. It just gives us more time to remember, to think, and sometimes to blame ourselves. In this video, I want to go through that journey with you. The journey of forgiveness, not for others first, but for ourselves. Forgiveness is not forgetting, not denying what happened. Forgiveness is a way for us to live more lightly, so that our hearts stop hardening every time we think about the past. It is a gift that we give ourselves. We will talk about things that seem very simple, but are very difficult to do. We will look back at some psychological mechanisms that occur in the brain when we live with old pain for too long. We will also talk about ways to help us gradually let go, slowly but surely, to live more lightly every day. I hope you stay with me until the end of the video, because there is something important, and something I believe will make you cry when you realize it. And now, let's begin. I want you to imagine yourself sitting in front of a mirror. But that mirror does not reflect your outer image, but fragments of memories. It shows images of times when you were sad, disappointed, hurt, tormented. Sometimes it is the eyes of someone you love but who once hurt you. Sometimes it is the voice of someone who makes your heart ache. Sometimes it is yourself in your youth who once did something foolish. That picture, whether blurry or clear, it has been there for many years. And I want you to know that the fact that you still remember those things is not a sign that you are weak or unable to let go. It is just a sign that you are a person with a heart, with emotions, with memories. Brain science calls it the phenomenon of emotional attachment to long-term memory. That is, events with strong emotions will be stored in the brain for a long time, sometimes for life. Especially negative emotions such as regret, hurt, or anger, they often root much deeper than positive emotions. But for that reason, forgiveness, if not understood correctly, will become almost impossible. You may have heard someone say, "Forget it, it's been a long time." But how can you forget, right? The more you try to forget, the more you remember. The more you tell yourself to let go, the more tormented you become. That's because you are going against nature, against the entire memory and emotional system inside your brain. Forgiveness does not start with trying to forget. Forgiveness starts with acceptance. Accept that it happened. That you were hurt, you were wrong, you suffered. Accept it as a part of your life. As Americans often say, it is what it is. That is the first step, and also a very important step. Because if you don't accept it, you will continue to live in a state of denial, pretending, or forcing yourself to be happy, to be strong. That is not real, and it makes you more tired. I remember an old lady in California, over 70 years old, once asked me a question, "I'm old, do I still have the right to be sad?" That question made me choke up. Because she thought that, at this age, being sad is also something that should not be. But no, my friend. You have the right to be sad, to regret, to be silent every time you think about the past. That is how your soul is healing, not by running away, but by sitting with the pain, holding it in your heart and whispering, "I understand and feel you. pain. That is the next step on the journey of forgiveness, talking to your memories. Try doing this on a quiet morning when you are alone. Close your eyes and imagine yourself talking to a person or an image from the past that you cannot forgive. It could be someone who hurt you. It could also be yourself when you were younger. Say it all without holding back. Say it to them or to yourself. I am angry, I am sad, I am disappointed, I do not understand why that happened. Just say it all. No need for anyone to listen. Just listening to yourself is enough. Many studies in the US show that writing down your feelings or speaking out loud with images in your mind has a very strong effect in relieving your psychology and promoting the self-healing process. They call it expressive writing or guided imagery, simple but extremely effective techniques. If you are not used to writing, you can just say it silently. Or if you find it hard to start, you can put on some soft music or a recording of your children or grandchildren to create a sense of security. Don't judge your feelings. Just let them come and go like the wind. I know there will be tears when you do this. But that's okay. Tears don't make you weak. On the contrary, they are a sign that your heart is still alive, still able to feel, not completely closed. And that is a sign of hope. Together we have understood why painful memories cling so persistently. We also know that forgiveness cannot begin with trying to forget, but must begin with acceptance and dialogue. But then, what happens after that? How to truly let go of the pain. How to not let it repeat itself in your mind every day. If you feel something stirring in your heart at this moment, leave a comment below. I want to hear your feelings. With a question that I think all of us have whispered to ourselves on sleepless nights: I have forgiven, but my heart still hurts. It is a very real feeling and very common. Many people believe that if they forgive, all negative emotions will disappear, their hearts will be light, their memories will be as quiet as falling leaves. But in reality, it is not. Forgiveness is not a miracle that erases all hurt with just a nod. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. There is a phenomenon in psychology called residual emotional response. Simply put, it is like the wound on the skin is healed, but it still hurts every time the weather changes. My soul is the same. We may have understood, forgiven, and taken the first step on the journey of forgiveness, but the emotions that were once deeply engraved, they are still there, just quieter than before. It's not that we haven't forgiven, but that we are living with the old wound with a different perspective. Therefore, the next step in this journey is to learn to be with the emotions instead of avoiding them. In old age, people often think, well, it's old, don't think about it anymore. But in fact, emotions don't disappear when we ignore them. They just lurk inside, and then suddenly appear in the form of fatigue, insomnia, or even mild depression. A study at Stanford University found that older people who take the time to identify and name their emotions, that is, say, I feel sad, I feel sorry, I feel hurt, will have twice the psychological resilience compared to those who do not acknowledge those emotions. You can try this tonight. When a bad memory comes back, don't try to block it out by watching TV or calling someone to forget. Instead, sit down, close your eyes, and breathe slowly. Then ask yourself, what am I feeling? You don't have to answer well, just be honest. It could be, I feel angry, I feel lost, I feel abandoned. When you name each emotion, you will naturally feel that you have control over it. There is an interesting thing that psychotherapists often tell their patients: no emotion is wrong. Your feelings are reasonable for what you have experienced. We should not feel guilty for being sad, remembering, or hurting. The most important thing is to learn to listen to that sadness, then gently say goodbye to it, let it go with a calm nod. And then, little by little, we begin to let go of the expectations we once held. Many people fail to forgive because they are waiting for an apology. But the truth is, sometimes we never get one. The other person may be gone, or they may not understand how they were hurt. In therapy, this is called shifting expectations to initiative. Instead of waiting for someone to make amends, you can create a symbolic act of closure, like writing a letter, but not sending it, or creating a small ritual to say goodbye to old feelings. I know an acquaintance. He is 68 years old. He was betrayed financially by his best friend after 40 years of friendship. For 5 years he was angry, he was sad, and that sadness never subsided. Until one day, he wrote a letter to the other person, but instead of sending it, he took it to the park, burned it, and scattered the ashes into the lake. He said, when he saw the ashes dissolve in the water, his heart felt a little lighter. Such symbolic actions, though small, have great power. Because they send a signal to our own brain, I am actively choosing to let go. It is like closing a chapter in a book, not because the story is no longer painful, but because we want to continue living other, lighter chapters. Have you noticed that many elderly people keep living in the same old stories, as if they are stuck in time? They replay past memories over and over again, but always with an unresolved emotion, anger, regret, resentment. As we age, long-term memory becomes stronger than short-term memory, so old memories come back clearly. But if we don't resolve old emotions, we are letting the past prevent us from enjoying the present moment. That's why I want you to imagine this. If the past is a room, then the present is the window facing the sunlight. Every time you enter that room to reminisce, remember to open the window, to let the wind of the present blow in, to let the light of today soften the dark corners of the past. Because life, after all, is a journey of learning to put the past in its rightful place, behind us, not in front of us. We've talked about accepting emotions, talking to pain, and letting go of expectations. But there is one more thing, perhaps the hardest, but also the most profoundly liberating. It is learning to look at the person who has hurt us with compassion. Not to excuse them. Not to say they were right. But to acknowledge that we all act from wounds we have no control over. When someone hurts us, they are often hurting themselves. When someone leaves us, they sometimes don't know how to stay. Compassion is not about forgiving wrongdoing, but about recognizing the imperfection of human nature, both in others and in ourselves. A study from the University of California found that older adults who practice compassion through meditation or daily gratitude journaling have a 40% reduction in depression. Because when we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we are no longer victims, we become informed observers. And that naturally lightens the mind. You may not be ready to do this right away. That's okay. Forgiveness is not a race. It's a journey that each person goes at their own pace. The important thing is that you know you're going. And if you're wondering, so, after all, how do we live more lightly each day? That's where I want to go with you in the last part. A short but profound part, where we not only let go of the old, but also learn to plant the new. Stay with me in the last part, because I believe the most important thing is not the past, but how we live in the present, living more lightly each day, with small but meaningful choices. You know, there's one thing that many old people tell me: I wish I had forgiven earlier, then my life would have been different. Forgiveness does not make us forget the past, but it helps us live in the present more fully. So specifically, how can we live more lightly every day after embarking on the journey of forgiveness? The first thing, perhaps you have guessed, is to take care of yourself. Forgiveness does not start with the other person, but with you deciding, I deserve to live in peace. A glass of warm water in the morning, a soft song in the afternoon, or a walk in the green park, all are small actions, but they send a message to your mind: I am nurturing goodness. Consider these things as medicine for your soul. Second, is to be selective about what you pay attention to. Have you ever noticed that the older a person is, the more easily affected by other people's words? Just a word of criticism, a cold look, is enough to make you wonder all day. But in fact, we have the right to choose what to keep and what to let go. One way I often advise the elderly is to close your eyes every night before going to bed and ask yourself, of the things that happened today, what is worth keeping? What should I let go? It only takes a minute, but if you do it regularly, you will find your mind much brighter and lighter. Third is gratitude, even for things that are not perfect. It sounds paradoxical, right? Why be grateful for things that hurt you? But think about it, if there were no such wounds, you probably would not have become as profound as you are today. There are people who hurt you, but they are also the ones who make you learn the value of kindness. There are losses that break my heart, but from there I learned to appreciate every peaceful moment later. I once met a retired doctor, now 72 years old. She said, "I was angry with my mother for 40 years. But then I realized that she was someone who was not taught how to be a mother, but she raised me with everything she knew, even if it was lacking. Since understanding that, I stopped being angry. And I started to miss my mother with a smile instead of tears." That is the power of gratitude. It does not deny the pain, but puts it into a bigger picture to see that this life, no matter what, always has a glimmer of light somewhere if we are patient enough to see. And finally, it is living more gently every day, which means opening your heart to new things. Forgiveness is not the end, it is a beginning. You can start a new habit, a new friendship, a small volunteer activity. All of these things send a clear message: I am not living in the past. I am moving on. At first, you may feel embarrassed, feel old, feel too late. But I want you to remember this: there is no age too late to live lighter, kinder, and more at peace with yourself. There is a quote that I really like by American writer Anne Lamott. Forgiveness means giving up the hope that the past can be different. And it is only when we give up that hope that we can truly live in the present, where every day, however short, can still be a beautiful day. Dear friend, if you are listening to this, perhaps in your heart there is some pain or some shadow that you have carried with you for many years. I do not know specifically what that story is. But I believe one thing: if today you start being gentler with yourself, then tomorrow, your heart will warm up, and the remaining years will truly be the days you choose to live, not just the days you pass by. Dear friend, if you feel that the sharing during the journey above has touched your heart, even if it is just a glimmer of light, a word that makes you pause for a few seconds, then I ask for your time to help me spread this kindness. You can click the like button on the video so that YouTube understands that this is useful content for the elderly. You can also subscribe to the channel so that every time I release a new video, you will not miss it. And if you think this video can help a friend or relative, someone who has been hurt or is struggling with old memories, then please share it with them. Who knows, just one click of yours to share could be a ray of light that helps someone step out of the heavy days they have kept hidden for so long. You can also leave a few lines in the comment section, a small story, a confession, or just "I am practicing forgiveness." My fellow travelers in this community will always be here, listening to you, and healing together. You are not alone on this journey. We are all learning to let go of the past, live more deeply in the present, and open our hearts little by little, in our own way. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I wish you a peaceful day, and a heart big enough to forgive, light enough to fly. See you in the next video, where we sit down together, slow down, and look at life with gentle eyes.